Welcome back to Archaeology After Dark, everyone. I am, of course, your host, Daniel Rhodes. My guest today is Dr. Elliot Blair. Elliot, thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about yourself, or us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Currently, I'm an associate professor in the Department of Anthropology at the University of Alabama. Also the curator of Southeastern Archaeology here. I've been at UA for 10 years. Before that, I did my PhD at UC Berkeley. And I do most of my field work in coastal Georgia, studying Spanish missions and late Mississippian societies. But I'm also, now that I'm here in Tuscaloosa, I'm sort of dabbling a little bit in some local archaeology.
And that's gonna bring us to what we're talking about today. You and your students just started an excavation actually on the University of Alabama's campus, right?
Yeah, that's right. This is actually sort of an unusual field school for us. We do a fall field school every year, just about every year. And traditionally, going way, way, way back, that's always been held at Moundville. But this fall, we excavated right on the university campus, right in front of the Gorgas House. And we're digging one of the old dormitories that was burned during the Civil War.
Yeah, and that's something that people can actually see when they visit the University of Alabama's campus is there are historic markers all over campus saying that the Union Army came through and in their truest fashion set fire to everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you walk around the quad, I mean, of course, everybody's familiar with the mound, which is the remains of Franklin Hall, and so we're working just north of there at Washington Hall.
So, what's your goal for the excavation? What are you trying to learn from excavating a dormitory?
Yeah, so it's a couple of objectives. So back in about 2012 through 2015, Dr. Craig Sheldon, an emeritus professor from Auburn Montgomery, and Dean Mosier, an artist from Fairhope, Alabama, did a really sort of detailed study of the University of Alabama's original campus, trying to identify the precise locations of all of the original buildings and really digging into what these actually looked like. And that resulted in a really great painting that Dean Mosier did, and also a very detailed model replica of the university. And so based on their work, we have a pretty good understanding of what the original footprint looked like. But about a year ago, UA Facilities was doing some utility work on campus, and they were putting in a new light pole right in front of the Gorgas house. And they came down on a section of foundation. And so when they encountered this, they gave Dr. Matt Gage at the Office of Archaeological Research a call, and he came over and took a look at it and said, yeah, that's definitely a foundation from one of the early buildings. And it's not quite where we expected one to be. So he gave me a call and said, hey, you need to do a field school right on campus and figure out what this wall is. And so at the time, we were a little unsure what it was going to be. It was a little further north than Dr. Sheldon and Dean Mosier had projected the north wall of Washington Hall. And it was also a little further south of where the faculty housing building was supposed to be located. So we didn't know what this wall was. So our goal was figure out what it was. Was it the north wall of the Washington Hall dormitory or part of the faculty building or something else altogether? And then also try to get a little better understanding of, the construction, how the building was constructed, and then also, if we could get a picture of, student life as they resided in the dormitory. So a lot of different objectives for our excavations.
Yeah, and the painting you actually mentioned they're using as I guess the flyer for a couple of different lectures I've seen on Facebook. So if people are looking for that painting in particular or just archaeology in Tuscaloosa in general, you'll probably see it pop up on Facebook or Instagram. It's actually a really beautiful painting.
Yeah, we actually had Dr. Shelton and Dean Mosier come last week or 2 weeks ago and give a talk about their work that they've done. And the recording of that lecture is actually posted on YouTube now from the University of Alabama Museum's page. And you can see the painting there and see them talking about their work from about a decade ago.
Yeah. So, what do your students think about excavating a dormitory? Because I'm assuming at least some of your students have experience living on campus.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of them live on campus. I think there was a lot of excitement about this dig. Number one, a lot of them were really excited that it was happening on campus. They didn't have to travel half an hour, 45 minutes, each way twice a week to get to the dig. They can stroll from their dorm to the excavation site or just walk across campus from their previous class. So there was a lot of excitement just based on the convenience of the excavation. It was also a rare opportunity for him since it was sort of a real historical archaeology excavation, and that's pretty unusual. We often have lots of students who are interested in historical archaeology, but we have sometimes fewer excavation opportunities for them. So there were a lot of students who were really excited about this opportunity.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a joke I was going to make is just the convenience of going to work. Just, the 10 or 15-minute walk across campus instead of like the hour and a half drive to a field that's in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, and they love it. They can, finish their class at, 11:50 and then walk right over to the excavation site and makes it easy for them. I think it helped with enrollment this semester. Students who just maybe just couldn't fit it in their schedule were able to make it work this time. So yeah, it was pretty great.
So, what have you learned or discovered so far? I know it's a fairly recent project, but I'm assuming you've got some preliminary results.
Yeah, so we came squarely down on a sandstone section of foundation, and it's very clearly the north wall of the building. So it's the north wall of Washington Hall. Um, and originally we thought that it was, we thought that was going to be the most likely outcome. But we're further north. We're probably about 5 meters north of where Sheldon and Mosier had projected the location. And then also we thought that we might come down on the corner of the building, the northeast corner of the building, but we didn't. We originally came down sort of smack dab in the center of the building. And projecting outward from where we were, it looks like the northeastern corner is out under the road, so we couldn't do any excavation to test for that. But we could project westward, and we put in another unit, and we came directly down on the northwestern corner of the building. So the entire building is further north and east than we'd originally thought it was. So we have a better idea of its location, and we have securely located one of the corners, and also an internal foundation wall foundation footing.
So let me ask you this: how do you, since we've talked about this, classes are out and there aren't a lot of people on campus. How do you go about protecting what you've already found from being disturbed when, let's say, the skeleton crew at the university is there?
Yeah, so the facilities, UA facilities, put up a semi-permanent fence around our excavation location, and it's padlocked and locked up. It sort of looks like a construction zone on campus, and so we had actually put up a bunch of signage so that people walking by would know that it was an archaeological excavation and that they could stop and ask questions and talk to us, and it wasn't just construction work. So it's all locked up, and actually we just last week the class finished. The students had their final exam, which was doing all the backfilling. And so everything is now backfilled and covered up. And so, yeah, it's all protected again. And yeah, but the fence is still up with it locked up.
But I think that's so cool that, especially with football season, people were coming and going from Tuscaloosa on a more than regular basis that they could just walk around on campus and actually see students working on something that relates to their education. And instead of, boosters being like, so what does my money actually go to? They can actually see it like firsthand where the money goes.
Yeah, and we tried to sort of tap into that sort of that game day atmosphere here on campus. And so every football game, every home game, we'd open up the excavation site, we'd unlock the fence, pull down the sheeting that was blocking the view, and students in the class would be out there answering questions and showing the section of foundation to anybody walking by who was curious about what we're doing. And so we got a lot of nice public engagement, every game day when we were out there.
Okay, that's incredibly cool. And next time I get a chance and it's not, freezing outside, I'm going to try to come to Tuscaloosa to look. So when do you expect to get back to work on it? I assume you're going to wait until it's at least a little more tolerable outside.
Yeah, so right now we've wrapped up this field season of excavations, and in the spring I'm teaching a laboratory methods class. And in the class, the students are going to be analyzing the artifacts from this fall's excavations, where we actually didn't find very much in terms of artifacts. We found that, this great section of the foundation, but very little in terms of artifacts. But in 2007, there was a larger excavation that the Office of Archaeological Research did underneath the road that runs right behind Gorgas Library. And when they were excavating in the road, they encountered a section of the cellar from Washington Hall. And so there's about 6 boxes of artifacts from those 2007 excavations that have never been analyzed. So this spring, students in the lab methods class are going to be analyzing all of those older excavations plus the newer materials that we uncovered this fall. And so we'll be working that all spring.
So, I assume you have a goal for every field school you do for the next round of excavations or field work. What's your, I guess, goal for that round?
Okay, so on campus here, the next objective I would think, right now we excavated just about all we could do with Washington Hall. Too much of it's under the road. They're not going to let me tear up the asphalt anytime soon. But just north of where we're working still should be the location of the faculty dormitory. And that's never been encountered archaeologically. We have no, on the ground excavations to show where that was. We just have the projections based on some maps. So I really want to do a field school going forward where we try to excavate a portion of the faculty housing building.
Yeah, that's something I've always really enjoyed, especially doing research in Tuscaloosa on the occasions I have, is the University of Alabama maintains a spectacular map collection. Like
Hmm.
it's very easy to access and resource, and it's available to you, the internet viewers.
Yep. Yeah, and so all of those maps, that was part of what Dean Mosier and Craig Sheldon used in their work. And so they created a really detailed GIS reconstruction of the original campus. And so we've been using that too to inform our excavations. And so we have the projections of where the faculty housing building should be. But as we found out this time, the projections don't always quite match the reality on the ground. And so we'll have to do probably some more ground penetrating radar along with our excavations to come down on that building.
Yeah, and that's something you and I discussed when before we started the episode is students' expectations of what archaeology actually is. Like this is, in my opinion, a great way for students to see like a real community impact with a program because a lot of the times in archaeology people don't get that because it's, like I said, in a remote field or something, not something people can actually visit. But here, like on campus in this situation, students can actually see how archaeology relates to the community.
Yeah, I mean, we have other students walking by and asking questions about what we're doing. We have faculty members coming by and talking. We have community members dropping by and saying, "Hey, what's going on?" Or "We heard what you're doing. We wanted to see this." We have upper level administrators stopping by. Lots of folks on campus asking questions and being interested. And the students are, right there talking to them and explaining to them what they're doing. So it's really, really engaged work.
Yeah, and that's something I think students don't always get in a field school project is how to actually communicate the information to the community. Like part of archaeology education is, communicating what you've put together and it's not always covered in the curriculum. It's something students have to learn when they're actually out doing it professionally.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important being able to engage with stakeholders of all varieties in the work that we're doing. And so the students, they really gotta, very, very, you know, engage and experience, doing that this
Yeah,
semester.
it's a steep learning curve when, somebody asks you what you're doing and you're like, "Oh, well, I found this thing and it's cooler than the other things." And they're like, "Well, what are you actually doing?"
Yep. You know. Yeah, I mean, it's also sort of this whole experience. I think it's sort of a wake-up call for the students because, for most of them, it was their very first excavation. And sometimes what they anticipate doing archaeology is going to be like is very different than the reality. You know, they come in and they expect, all the excavations, it's going to be trowels and toothbrushes and, and dental picks. And, we go out the first day and it's solid clay. And so, the students are out there with picks and mattocks, breaking up the soil and not what they anticipated. Often how archaeology is done.
Yeah, that's something that I think people, especially here in Alabama, they don't realize how dense the soil is in places because a lot of it's covered up by major cities now, but there is a dense, thick red clay that consumes our state and it stains everything. Not that I'm biased against it at all. I don't have an issue with the red clay
Yeah,
whatsoever.
well, I got in trouble a couple of times this semester. We'd finish the excavations for the day, and I'd walk back to my office and I'd track red clay all over the hallways of the building, all over my office, and and then carpets would have to get shampooed, and and they'd know it was me.
Yeah, and that's, another thing is I don't think students think about it. Well, that I guess that's easy too for students because they after the day's over, they could just walk back to their dorm room, well, track back to their dorm room and just wash it right off. In the best case scenario, worst case scenario, they're stuck like that.
Yeah.
So, what's your ultimate goal for the project? Because I'm assuming, the university has set a limit to how much of campus you can actually excavate.
Well, I mean, it's sort of a year by year kind of thing. So this year, we just had this very small section, and we were just excavating. It was between the road and the sidewalk, so just enough room to put in a couple of two by twos in a short trench. Um, and I have to let them know that we've finished those excavations, and they'll take down the fence that they put up. And so for future years, it'll be a new negotiation trying to get permission again. I'm optimistic. It went well this year. I don't think we were too much of a pain to the university or the grounds folks. So I'm optimistic they'll let us do it again. But
Yeah,
that's the theme.
I'm just picturing the negotiation like the closer you get to the stadium, the harder of a fight it will be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, going to the faculty housing building, it's basically the same lawn and just a tiny bit north of where we're working now. I suspect that might be an easy sell. I don't know if it's trying to argue to do some excavations to the slave cabins that are behind the president's mansion. That might be a little more tricky to negotiate.
Yeah.
But yeah, but we'll see going forward. As for these excavations, I mean, I don't think there's much more we could do at Washington Hall unless we, break up the road. So we're about done there. The plan with the analysis and finishing up the project is the students in the lab methods class. They're going to be creating a poster that they'll collectively present at the CF meetings in Birmingham next year. And I also hope that they can pull together an article reporting on all the excavations from the building that we can maybe put somewhere like Journal of Alabama Archaeology.
Yeah, and that would be great because, when people show up for the conferences, it's really great to see like the local stuff people are working on, but it's also really cool to see people showing up from like Pennsylvania and Virginia and comparing to what's going on here. And it's sometimes it's the same thing. Like it's the same materials, just different people.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in campus archaeology, it's really sort of really emerged in the last decade as, almost its own subdiscipline. There's, edited volumes on campus archaeology and lots of articles. It's, doing campus archaeology has turned into sort of a big thing, nationwide.
And that's something that I've noticed as a trend, especially from coming out of COVID. People are putting more emphasis on public archaeology, like putting the information together, but then also putting it out there in a way to share it with other people. And they're prioritizing the ways they can and how they're going to share it.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're about out of time. For people who wanted to get involved in, I assume you have to be registered for. You have to be a registered student at Alabama to participate in what you're doing. Um,
Yes, that's true, but pretty much anybody can become a registered student. You just apply sort of as a non-degree seeking student and sign up for the class. I teach a field school in May where we actually go out to the Georgia coast, and I have lots of folks who are, students at other universities or somewhere else, and they have to apply to the University of Alabama, but it's, as a either a transient student or a non-degree seeking student, and then they can take a field school and be the same thing for these fall field schools where we're working on campus.
so for Alabama students, future Alabama students, if they wanted to learn more about the archaeology program on campus or just Alabama's archaeology program, what would you recommend to them?
Tell them, reach out to me, send me an email, reach out to our director of graduate studies here at UA, Dr. Chris Lynn. But yeah, reach out to me and I can tell you all about the stuff we're doing here on campus locally and a little less locally.
Okay. So, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I don't know if I'll have enough time or have another episode set up before the end of the year. In case I don't, thanks for sticking with us through 2025. I know it's been kind of a rough year for everybody. I try my best to say that with a straight face, but I'm not going to speak for Elliot on this, but thank you all for the support you give to our work as archaeologists, historians, and just people who work in the humanities. We've had a bit of a rough year, and your continued support means the world to us.
Absolutely.
All right, take care, everybody.
Thanks, Daniel.